Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Kirby Fair Show. I am joined by the ever so lovely track star, gentleman of all gentlemen, Sam Ald. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you for my flowers. Every time gets me.
Every time. I mean, you deserve it. You ran a whole, 6 miles?
The whole 4 miles.
A whole 4 miles. A 5K? Is that what they call those?
I think it's a little longer than a 5K, technically. It's like
longer than a 5K
mile. Yeah.
From Sam. He sprinted the entire thing, finished first, left everyone in the dust.
Yep.
In
yep.
North Carolina. Didn't stand a chance, these other dudes from Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah. UNC alum, looking good out there. Yeah, I feel like Easter weekend is a nice weekend for all these runs. There's the Crescent City Classic, classically in New Orleans, where it's just another excuse for everyone to get fucked up on the street
as they run by.
Like instead of water stations, we're talking beer.
There was a section for listeners. It was in Chapel Hill. They do the Tar Heel 10 miler. Ooh. I didn't do that. I did the Fleet Feet 4 miler. And so you just kind of run and you start kind of in the middle of campus. We love
alliteration.
Yeah, exactly. And you run kind of west to the end of Chapel Hill, and there's more like houses there. I did stop at a family had pickle juice shots, and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing that. Just straight pickle juice. Around the corner was tequila and vodka, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't do those.
Those are my two. I feel like I could do pickle shots in here as I sit because I cramp up in this tiny closet every single time. I can already feel it right now.
Honestly, it was like I drank the pickle juice, and I'm like, I can go now. I'm rejuvenated.
And if you know Kirby stands out there, tequila and vodka during a run would actually be the death of me. Secret, not so secret. I am very allergic to, somehow, we're not really sure what do you call those doctors? Allergists? No. They're probably an allergist. Unsure of why I am allergic to it, but yeah, tequila and vodka and a little bit of exercise. Very rare, but
So it's the combination
of
the exercise?
If I stay put, but I mean, when am I not moving around?
She's always moving.
I'm always moving. One time it was a friendship walk. It was a little tense after some margs. They're taller than me, so I'm really pacing. And the next thing you know, my face is blown up.
Oh no.
And anyways, it's that sounds so fun. I'm glad. Could you imagine I'm running, and the next thing you know, you turn over and my eyes are huge.
Slowly.
And you're like, Kirby, what's going on? And you're like, I'm gonna finish.
They have like the medical beds at the finish line. It's like all these people who are like, heart rate stuff and like dehydration.
Couldn't make it 4 miles.
There's Kirby with getting like Benadryl or whatever she needs for
They
allergies.
wouldn't have expected. They probably didn't bring the EpiPen to this race. They didn't foresee this one. But anyways, it's been a lot of change a lot of different things going on in the Kirby Sam universe. Beautiful spring. But I want to talk about, before we get started, I'll say, give you guys a rundown because there is a couple new things going on. We might call it a new era of the Kirby Fair Show.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this era will continue to prosper and will continue start. I don't know. All good over here. But we'll give you a rundown here for our listeners who, maybe you like to listen to half the stuff, a quarter of the things. Look, if you want to scrub on forward, that's totally cool. But I want to say, why not listen to it all? Because today we're talking about the NFL draft that looms April 24th. There's been, the talk is all from the end of the Super Bowl, then really to the trade deadline or whatever the hell. And then now we have the NFL draft with all these college kids. Also going to catch up on the WNBA season, which is on the horizon, and WNBA draft highlights, which was last Monday. Beautiful night. And honorable mentions that we are not going to dive into because there's too many other juicy stuff is the NBA playoffs. And specifically, the only team I'm really here for, because the Knicks, guys, you lost it. You've already lost it. You're in the playoffs and you've already lost. And that's going to be the Lakers, but we are down already. 0-1 in the series with the Timberwolves, but, nothing you can do with this guy Ant-Man. And also, when the entire team is shooting 50% from three-point line, what are you going to do? They were 21 out of 42. And let's just say woof woof for these Timberwolves over here. And also, speaking of wolves, dogs, UConn won the championship with old Paige Bueckers and Azzy Fudd, and Gino took it home for, I think, their 16th, UConn's 16th.
I think it's 12th.
12th.
We'll check back in 4 years, though. Yeah.
We'll check it. I cannot touch my computer, or otherwise this camera's going to fall. But yeah, before we get started, I actually want to dive into something very sad and serious. I want to take a moment for former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy died by suicide a little more than a week ago at the age of 24. He played at University of Louisiana, Lafayette, from Thibodaux before coming over to LSU, and he was one of those all-star LSU wide receivers the past, couple of years that have just, taken the SEC and then the NFL by storm. But he died 2 days before a grand jury hearing on his case where he was facing negligent homicide for felony hit and run. That killed a 78-year-old man, Herman Hall. That was back in December, so pretty much after the season it ended. And yeah, I guess it's a real bummer to see 2 lives lost in this situation, this car accident, deathly car accident, for just, I don't know. He turned himself in, he fled the scene, I guess, and then turned himself in to the cops. He felt remorseful, and I think the bottom line is he was just scared. He had no clue what was going to happen to him 2 days later. His lawyer says it was probably all going to be fine, but it's a very isolating time for a lot of players going into the NFL draft. From the time they get out of college, whether they go to the bowls or not. And you're really by yourself, training by yourself with either a coach or maybe 2 other people, getting ready for the draft. Couldn't have been probably a worse time for him to be apart from his teammates and, that network of stuff. So, yeah, I just want to address that, and prayers to the Lacy family and the LSU community, LSU staff. I know I met him once, but he made a really big impact on me just of how to carry yourself in the world. The LSU wide receiver coach reached out to him on Instagram, and his kids were just obsessed with Kyren Lacy and Hilton Jr. I don't know. It's a big loss. I don't know. It's tough when you don't know someone, but you take it hard. I feel like I struggle with that a good bit because I didn't even know the guy. Sam knows I had a bit of a tough time with it, but I just want to get that out there. All prayers and love and all that good stuff in a bad situation. But if you're feeling like you need help, definitely reach out, even if it's scary.
Yeah, no, mental health, it's important. Never know what's going on inside someone's head, so reaching out, see your loved ones, or even if you need to reach out to a professional, only good things going to happen.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a big part of shows a pretty big flaw in the draft system because of how isolated these guys are. There's
a lot of mental and physical sort of stressors being put on them, and
it's just such a long time between the end of the season.
Right, yeah.
And the end of the college season and the start of the NFL, at least training camp or whatever. He was at LSU's pro day, which I think was maybe the week before. And then he went, home. But the NFL, for no reason, no explanation, revoked his invitation from the combine, even though he was projected to be a top 50 pick. And I think the NFL they're tight on, I think, when guys get into sketchy situations, But I think he kind of just already was feeling the pain of it and didn't kind of just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but the NFL definitely could have been a little bit better on that
Handled
side.
it differently, yeah.
But yeah, other NFL news and
the draft is coming up.
The draft is coming up. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably the only interesting part of this draft for me.
Yeah, I think by this point, consensus says that we have Cam Ward out of Miami going first to the Titans. We have the Browns, I think, are picking second, and I haven't seen anything linked saying that they're taking a quarterback. And then sort of third is the Giants, and that's kind of where the Shedeur links have kind of been previously. But I think since we've last recorded, the Giants have signed both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So that's a fun quarterback room. Are you going to add Shedeur to that?
Who knows? I don't know.
After that, there's not too many teams that need a quarterback until we get to number 9. Kirby, who's picking 9?
The Saints are picking 9. I think I want to dive in. If we dive into the Saints right now, we're never going to get back. So I think the draft generally is kind of just like, especially with Shedeur Sanders, it's just overblown tomfoolery, overanalysis. These guys are acting like these mock draft people will argue who goes number 1 in like last year's like Caleb Williams. He was definitely going number 1. And they would argue until, like, they were out of breath and his name had been already called. And so, like, now that Shedeur's out here and no one really knows what's going to happen, it's absolutely miserable.
And yeah, Shedeur, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know, son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders.
That is very important.
Who was his coach at Colorado and also his coach at Jacksonville State, where he had transferred from.
Jackson State.
I've heard it said, there's helicopter parents, but Deion, he's a snowplow parent where he's just pushing it, straight forward the path for Shedeur. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic too, where, Shedeur's he's going to be coached by not his dad for like the first time in his life.
It's a sketchy, I mean, it's not a sketchy situation. It's like, definitely finicky, and the Giants are making it all worse.
There's like a certain, like, not circus, like circus gives a bad connotation, but like, you're going to have more eyes on you if you, So in terms of what people use the circus.
A spectacle. It's a spectacle.
Yeah. Whoever takes them is going to have the spectacle. Kind of like LeVar Ball and the Ball family, but
that was fun.
Deion
but it's less fun.
Actually,
it's more serious because Deion's like, I'm gonna kill you. But it's like he won't say that. Like, it's like LeVar Ball, the dad, said, I'm gonna kill you.
Because he's just,
Deion,
a dad.
Everyone thinks that's what he's saying. But he's not saying anything. Because he's a calculated man that, like, is a reasonable person. But I think, like, the real problem here, bottom line, is the Giants. The worst team franchise right now to be having to make a difficult decision. Just their track record in the past is just absolutely abominable for making good decisions as a unit. And so in the past week or so, the Giants have flown out to Colorado twice to look at Shedeur. And this is in addition to his pro day, in addition to the combine. And news is that they're pretty split inside the building on what to do. And if you're split on the first pick of the NFL draft, it's not a good look. But
also after signing 2 veteran quarterbacks,
it's so, like, that's what I'm saying. They just have a problem.
It's like last year where the Falcons signed Kirk to this massive deal and then take Michael Penix Jr. at 8. It's like, okay, if you were going to do that, why did you give Kirk all this money? And now it's kind of the same thing with the Giants if they do take him.
I think that similarity is more akin to if they were to take Abdul Carter, because they already have. So Abdul Carter is the defensive lineman out of Penn State. If you know Micah Parsons, he's pretty much like that, if not better. We'll find out. Micah Parsons, the one that talks a lot and shouldn't. Kind of like a younger Draymond Green.
Come on the podcast, Micah.
Exactly. But the Giants already have a stacked D-line. So sure, they could add to it. But in the next 2 years, they're going to have to pay a shit ton of money to at least 2 other people in that line. And then 5 years from now, they're going to have to pay Abdul Carter, if that works out. And it's like, they aren't paying Russ and Jamie's like too much. So it's probably less of a problem. But if you're going to have, it's just weird to have an okay backup in Jamie Swinston, Russell Wilson, who is a starter. And honestly, I'm going to be a Russell fan until the end. He can always pull it, who knows? But no, it's just what the Giants are doing. It really reminds me of like the cornucopia in the Hunger Games at this point. Like Giants GM is just like Joe Schoen is the guy who runs immediately to get all the stuff and then gets blown up or killed because he's like too greedy. And so he's either going to have 3 quarterbacks that are all like could be starters on a pretty cheap deal, which is fine, but also like why? Or he's going to have an incredible defensive line, which is going to come to bite him in a very, like, he is Sexy Dexy. Like, if you have a guy named Sexy Dexy who's on your defensive line and is pretty good, like, why are you, I have these dreams a lot. Like, say I'm at a buffet in my dream. And it's like, I have a plate of food, and then I put more food on it, and then the food falls off. And then I go to get more, and I have this plan in my head, but there's really not a plan. And it just keeps piling everywhere. And then I'm there for like 30 minutes in my dream and I haven't even eaten or gone back to the table because I'm just like, can't figure out how to put food, like, like just take what I have. And, it's all a game, this draft process. And that takes us to the Saints, who are only playing games for the past 10 years. The Saints, as Sam was saying, gonna take rumored to take Shedeur at 9. But they haven't even reached out to him. I don't even think they went to his pro day.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
And now the Saints have a brand new problem, of course, with their already problem that they created when they signed Derek Carr. But you want to just go over that for me, Sam, so I don't have to scream?
Yeah. So Saints are kind of, they don't believe in cap space, and they max out their cap space kind of to making it real. And anyway, Derek Carr, a big portion of their cap space has gone to Derek Carr, and he is likely out for the season with a shoulder injury. But if the Saints cut him before June 2nd, 2026, that would be $69.2 million cap hit, meaning that is money they cannot
spend,
go anywhere else. That's going to Derek.
I think June 3rd, 2026, if they cut him, will be the best birthday present I could possibly have. Derek Carr is gone out of my life. I don't care where he goes. No one's going to trade for him. All of a sudden, he's like being a prima donna. Like, my shoulder's hurt. I mean, my shoulder's probably hurt. But It's like, bruh, like, figure it out. I don't get these, like, these clauses in these contracts. Because who wrote that? That's Mickey Loomis's fault. That's Mickey Loomis's fault that you're going to have $69.2 million cap hit if this guy who was like basically unproven coming from the Raiders, which suck, coming down in New Orleans, and that's the contract you had him sign. What are we doing? Generally, what are we doing? It doesn't, I can't. I really, Derek Carr has always been a problem. He's now a new problem. But I think ever since Drew Brees left, which, bless your heart, I really appreciate the time you put in, Drew. You saved, you were there when we needed you. Got us a Super Bowl. And then you left. And, we all move on. Some people who haven't moved on is Aaron Rodgers, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I think the thing for me, Sam, which I know a couple weeks ago, I was getting quite violent in my language about the Saints not picking Shedeur Sanders. But I think I've taken a complete 180 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized the next draft class next year is going to be potentially Arch Manning. He could have one more year, but he will be eligible to opt into the 2026 draft. And then we have Garrett Nussmeier, who is currently LSU's quarterback, and you know how the Saints just love to pick him out of LSU. And his dad is going to be the QB coach, no, the offensive coordinator at the Saints. So I could see that working out, that being a long-term plan. And then Carson Beck and Drew Aller, which doesn't really fit with the Sam and Kirby how we draft things. You know, they got some personalities. I just don't like Drew Aller's hair. And Carson Beck, he made let's just say he arrived to Miami and really embraced it. So can't knock him, but you know, you're maybe not going number one to the Saints when we absolutely bomb this year and we don't even try. But Aaron Rodgers, I was thinking this morning, you know how it's like Voldemort and like people didn't want to like say Donald Trump's name and like only wanted to call him 45. Like I'm about done saying Aaron Rodgers' name. Like he is the person that will not be named. What a turnaround from his days and at the Packers to where we are now.
Yeah,
Sam.
it's crazy. Apparently Aaron Rodgers flew across the country to meet with the New York Jets new coach, Aaron Glenn, where they asked if he still wanted to play. He said yes, and they said they're going to go another option, which is wild to fly out across the country.
On his dime.
Barring, he's got a lot of dimes, but barring, I think we're getting all this from Aaron Rodgers, so, you know, there's, you know, you got to factor that into. He was revealing this on, you know, his Aaron Rodgers special hour on the Pat McAfee show, and you know, it's kind of been ever since then. It's really been Aaron Rodgers being linked with the Steelers. There's been some rumors of, you know, the Giants before they signed Russell Wilson and Jameis, and also the Vikings. But I think he said that there isn't really anything there. So it's just kind of like the Steelers. The Steelers don't have any other quarterbacks besides the one guy, Mason Rudolph. I think he came back.
Good name.
Mason Rudolph.
I don't know. That seems like a sweet guy name.
Yeah.
But he was like notably bad for the Steelers, so odd one to bring back. But Aaron Rodgers, that's the Steelers' problem. The Steelers' problem is Aaron Rodgers. And so why would you bring in a problem to your organization and pay him $10 million, which is apparently his number that he's requesting? He has been linked with the Steelers for approximately like 1,000 and refuses to make a decision, even though it's the Steelers. And so it makes you question if the Steelers are still the Steelers. Because what I would come to understand as the Steelers is they wouldn't be messing around with this pussyfooting by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, quote, well, this is not a quote, but Aaron Rodgers says he's busy. He can't be making it to football practice. Why would you want a guy in Steelers hard-nosed football not even wanting to come to practice? Because this is the quote. From the jump, I'm in a different phase in my life. I'm 41, and I'm in a serious relationship. I have off-field stuff going on that requires my attention. Well, good for doodly you, you know? Like, we all have shit to deal with, but if you're going to play professional football for $10 million, go ahead and put that to the side. I just don't understand how he thinks he's so above everything and like, the dude has sucked for 2 years. Like, truly, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I mean, last offseason he wasn't at training camp because he was off in like Egypt filming the Netflix documentary. So, you know, honestly, I want it to happen just to see kind of everything that Kirby said, how that clashes with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers culture, you know? Like, even players are like, all right, man, like, do you want to be here or not? Like, because we're the Steelers, so you're either with us or you're not. It's like, he said, another quote, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. That sounds like when those couples, you remember The Ultimatum? No.
That show on Netflix where these couples go and one wants to get married and the other one doesn't.
I think I missed that one. It's
excellent. There's also The Queer Ultimatum. But these couples go because one wants to get married and one doesn't. And they do this little experiment where they like date other couples in the same situation and then they recouple with someone else and then they live together for like 2 weeks and then they go back to their original couple. And honestly, twists and turns the entire way. But there's always one person that is like, look, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. If Boo wants to get back with me, that's cool too. But I just want to come into this quote unquote experience and try everything that I could try, because I don't want to let myself down if I didn't do it. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's on the Netflix love show.
I do love the Netflix love shows where everyone calls it, I came into this experiment, this experience, It's like, all right, man, like,
shut up. You're in the 8th season. It's not an experience. It's not an experiment anymore. We know what's going to happen. We have our hypothesis. You're probably going to be a fucker. And the girl's going to have her heart broken because men are creepy. Sorry, Sam. I mean, like this last year in that Charlotte dude who I was really rooting for, he had this crazy accent and these big eyes, and I was really rooting for him. Yes!
On Love is Blind.
Fucking
Jimmy. I hated Jimmy from the start.
I was digging Jimmy, and then all of a sudden, because the girl was the one that was like real into it, and then Jimmy's like, I'm Jimmy.
That's a good impression, actually.
Thank you. And he's like, but she was crazy because she was like, you can't hang out with your girlfriends who you've been friends with for 10 years. And Jimmy's like, I'm going to do that. And then somehow Jimmy doesn't know how to deal with his emotions and ends up leaving that girl. But hey.
Spoilers.
Get Rodgers, dumped he is basically on Netflix already. So what can
he is on Netflix, literally.
Yeah. The Aaron Rodgers, like, love Aaron. I am super interested, but not to see who is in this serious relationship, because I bet it is like the Lord Almighty Jesus Christ. He has risen. Like, it's not a real relationship,
Yeah. No, there's been interesting Aaron Rodgers relationships since I've been a fan. But yeah, and kind of tying it back. So the Steelers are also rumored to have a link with Shedeur picking at 21. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting draft coming up in a couple days. I think I saw Adam Schefter tweet that this is the closest it's been to the draft where there have been no first round picks traded yet. So surely something's going to have to get traded, Maybe it even waits until draft night, but someone's got to be doing some trading. Maybe it is for Shedeur, if some, falls past 4 or 3 even, maybe someone hops up and takes them. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll report back.
I'm going to go get some pickle juice, and we'll be back on the other side.
Are you like me and live in a bogus area of the United States that doesn't have central AC? If so, first, I'm sorry. But boy, do I have the solution for you. The Medea U-shaped window AC will save your sanity, your relationships, and your wallet. The Medea is ultra quiet and ultra cooling, with that cool breeze flowing up to 20 feet. And if you're weird, you can also connect it to Wi-Fi and control using your phone. Wowza! The U-shaped design allows you to completely close and open your window without risking the lives of passerbys below your overpriced New York apartment. Medea. It's heavy, but worth it.
We're back.
And you know what it smells like?
Pickle juice?
No, it smells like good old plastic. Because we're talking basketball. It smells orange. It smells like Wilson. Mm-hmm. Because it's the WNBA. NBA got honorable mention, but no, the news is here. The WNBA is back, baby. So we're going to give you a rundown of the draft that happened last Monday. I hope you caught my coverage. That was crazy. Very proud of myself for sticking with it, because it was the phone was dying. It was disappointing when Georgia Amore, but we'll get into it. And then we're going to give you a little sneak peek preview of the season, which is, again, starting very soon. So, Sam, coming off of UConn's massive national championship, the expected great Paige Bueckers goes number 1 to the Dallas Wings. How about that?
Shout out. Yep, they lose a legend in Luka in Dallas, but, they're getting one right back. Paige Bueckers, she's just been great. She was out with an injury last year or the year before, so.
Year before, tore ACL.
Yeah, but she came back and absolutely dominated this year, and it'll be interesting to see, how she does in Dallas.
I mean, yeah, some might say she was Paige Bueckers was that girl before Caitlin Clark was. And it was just unfortunate that Paige Bueckers got hurt. She could have, if everything would have gone well, she would have been in the draft last year. And I'll just say, Paige can shoot it from anywhere on the court. She doesn't have to go left. But I will not get into that quite yet. Maybe another episode. But she will join Enrique Agumbawale, Jenny Carrington, Maisha Hines-Allen, who came over from the Lynx, their championship run team didn't win. So that's going to be exciting. I do think it'll be great for Dallas. They finally got a good player back after a very tenuous year and a half, like month and a half after our boy Luka left. I saw a funny thing. It was like Nico was already pushing to have a trade for Angel Reese overnight. But second, I think is very interesting because I didn't know her. Could have, should have, but I didn't.
Could have.
Is a French player by the name of Dominique Malonga. She goes second to the Storm and is a very scary player. She can actually, well, not actually, because like a couple people can't dunk, but she can get up there. She gets lifted. She is off the ground. She doesn't need a couple steps. She can take it in one and she can put it down your throat. And a lot of the girls are already saying they're a little scared of being the first WNBA player to get dunked on. It's been a good little Twitter fight going back and forth between the ladies. Sydney Colston thinks it might be her, but the baby is 5'5", so it's definitely not. She's not going to be defending her. And yeah, she actually played the U.S. in the Olympic finals. She's a great player. So I know there were a couple French players last year that were drafted in the first round, didn't show up. So I'm a little confused how this international ball works, but whatever. And then the Mystics come in. Horrible team last year. Absolutely bad. Just bad all around. I mean, it's unfortunate that DC just has nothing good going on for them, but they had 3 picks this year. And one of them is Georgia Amore out of
Kentucky
via Virginia Tech. One of the best players, I think, other than Paige Bueckers in this draft, definitely point guard. And coming off the board, I really wanted her to go to the Sky, but that's fine because we eventually get Haley Van Lith. If you were catching the story, last Monday, I called it. And first I called it wrong, but then I called it right because they had the back-to-back picks, the Chicago Sky, and they went with this girl, I think from Lithuania, and it was a bit of a bummer to hear that name be called instead of Haley Van Lith because I had really put a lot online with the Instagram story making that pick. But then I was redeemed. But other than that, Anissa Morrow goes 7th, LSU, a lovely lady to Connecticut Sun. And unfortunately, I don't know how that's going to play out because the Connecticut Sun is the most decimated team right now. Decimated.
Yeah.
Team right now, probably in the WNBA. Instead of making any good moves in, they sent all of their good players out. Stephanie White is out to the Fever. So it's looking like Anissa Morrow is going to have to play some 1-on-5 ball. Well, she has what's her name? Marina Mayberry, Dad's favorite player. Talk about a girl that can hustle. That's Marina Mayberry. Yeah, that's it. So, Sam, you were busy that eve. But what was your take?
My take,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I blanked again. Like everyone knew Paige was going to go first, and it's interesting to see where everyone popped up. I was looking over the draft picks again, and it kind of just realized to me that the reigning champion, the Liberty, they only made 1 pick this year because maybe they don't need a pick. They had the very last pick, and yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be fun once everything gets going, seeing how all these people mesh. I was curious with Haley Van Lith and Angel Reese. Was there bad blood when they were at LSU, or was that something I'm misremembering?
I think you might be remembering my take on it.
Okay.
I have bad blood.
Because Haley Van Lith, she transferred after the title run.
Yeah, over to TCU.
Yeah.
She came in after we won in 2023. Supposed to be our point guard. And she had a really, really good regular season. And then when we get to the March Madness, it's like the girl forgot how to play basketball and to run point. Like it was happens. Turnover city, missing shots, probably had like 8 points a game when she was averaging like 16. And if you don't have a point guard and you're missing you're giving the coffin the ball up. Like, I'm sure she left because of how hard Kim Mulkey was riding her on the side of the court because of how bad she was playing. It was really like a James Harden situation where you're great, and then all of a sudden you're bad, and your team really relies on you, and you lose.
So any bad blood I was remembering just a couple of minutes ago, that was, kind of hate coming from you, is what I'm
100%. Yes. I do believe they are still friends.
Okay. They're, teammates again, so
the problem was not between Angel Reese and Hailey Van Lith. It was between me
Kirby
and Hailey Van Lith, which no one cares about. But I'll be in Chicago this summer, so I'm super excited to watch those two go back at it. Like I said, the Chicago Sky needed a point guard pretty bad. So we'll see if she can fix that problem, or if we'll have a repeat of the 2024 March Madness tournament. Hailey, you're on watch. I'm rooting for you, but we're gonna need a good showing, baby. Second, the season preview. Season starts officially May 16th. Preseason starts May 2nd. And I think we're kind of in a sticky middle area between how fast the college season ends and how fast it begins versus the NFL season beginning and the college season ending. Because it's maybe 3 weeks for the WNBA and it's like 5 months for, the NFL. And it could be, I think there's a happy medium between those days, because preseason starts the 2nd. They got drafted on the 18th of April. These people don't, they're still staying in hotels. They just got there, And
then, they might not even make the final roster, by the 16th when it starts.
You don't even know where to find coffee in your neighborhood yet. You're still searching for the good place that has the fine deals and the coffee's not too acidic, or you like matcha, but they don't have, oat. They only have almond. There's not enough time for that. And if you can't find your coffee shop as a 22-year-old girl, are you going to even play well? You have no stability in life. Yeah. That's all I'm trying to say.
We're starting the discussion.
And not all the girls were there. They're like, oh, I'm drafted now. Shit. I was planning on, going to Cabo with mom and dad and granny. Sorry, you guys, got to cancel. And, there's some of the parents are like, yeah, that's great. And then some of the parents are like, this was non-refundable. Paige will be playing on the 2nd. We'll get to see her. Players in the WNBA typically do play in preseason games. It's not like the NFL where we won't see the talent. We will see a lot of the bench players and the people making the team, but we'll still see, our B-level stars. And we'll also get our first look at the Valkyries, which I'm super excited about. Valkyries, new team in San Francisco, the Bay Area. So they say, decent name, not pumped. Everyone thinks their logo and color is really good, but it's just purple with, V situation as the logo. Kind of like
the Golden Gate.
It's fine.
Imagery is kind of in there.
Could have been better. I need to revisit our show when we came up with all of those good names. You had the sickest names.
Yeah. One was for Toronto.
Yeah.
The Velocity.
Velocity.
What did that end up being?
It's really close. Tempo. It's like the Turbo. Yeah. The Tempo. Yeah, there we go. Man, wouldn't you hate to be on that team and you're on the line? They're like, keep up the tempo. You're on the tempo, run faster. What are you doing? Do you even want to be on this team? It's like being on the Pacers. When the Pacers were in the conference final and all they could, just the Pacers played fast. So they're like, man, the Pacers are playing with such pace. And it's like, you guys really need a thesaurus, all these broadcasters, because it's getting old. But anyways, we'll also, and then the May 16th, the first day, we'll feature the Wings versus the Lynx, and also the Sparks with new Kelsey Plum and the Valkyries.
That's true.
Which will feature Kate Martin and Tiffany Hayes, which came from also the Aces. I'm pretty sure that's right. But then the big girls will be playing Saturday. We'll have the Aces and the Liberty rematch of the finals 2 years ago. We'll see Asia Wilson coming out with some new shoes. The ones, hoping I can cop some, 5'6", coming out. It's tough to leave your job and then a really expensive pair of pink shoes comes out. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem like a good thing for me to buy. And then the Sky versus the Fever, of course, major matchup again with this made up beef between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But the Fever has definitely turned over. Like me with Shedeur Sanders, 180 from last season. They're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. I could see them actually making a deep run in the playoff if Caitlin can find her shot early in the season. Get some.
She's had a year.
Early wins in the early wins in the win column. Yeah, if they get under 500 like immediately, I think it'll be hard to crawl back. But Sam, I don't know. I think everyone's super excited about the Lassies this season going in. I mean, Paige's hometown is freaking out about her.
That's true. May 16th also, their hometown. They're just so excited for Paige that they're renaming the town to Paige Bueckers, Minnesota, just for the day. And then that's also going to be Paige Bueckers Day going forward every May 16th.
When I read that, I thought it was forever.
That same. Yeah.
And I was like,
whoa.
Quite a reaction. It's kind of like Colorado retiring Shedeur Sanders jersey, and he hasn't even been drafted yet and don't know if he's going to be a good player. I mean, you could have given him 2 years, even if he was bad in the NFL. Like you could. I
feel maybe, I don't know. I feel like renaming a town, not as big of a deal as retiring a number.
100%. It's like a dog mayor.
Yeah. Here's our dog, Mr. Woofy. He's the mayor.
Mr. Woofy. But then it's like, welcome to Paige Bueckers town. Home of Paige Bueckers and Paige Bueckers family. And also we're in Minnesota, so like population of 2,000.
It's true.
What does it matter?
Shout out the Midwest, Paige. You're going to go off, get down to Texas. You've been Midwest, Northeast now, Texas.
You're ready for real culture. Welcome. It's going to be scary at first, but you got style, you got attitude. I think you'll fit right in. Just say thank you and please and ma'am and sir, and you'll fit right in. So also don't ask for like tea at a restaurant hot. No one does that. And get ice and everything. That's all I have to say. Well, you all, thank you for listening to the Kirby Ferris Show. This new era has begun. You can follow us at Kirby Ferris Show on Instagram and at AldSam on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. If you aren't already watching this, go ahead, rewind it, listen to it twice, and watch because, it's a whole different sensory experience. And make sure to, no, that's about it. Anything I'm missing?
I don't think so. Tune in to the draft. We'll be back hitting all the highs and lows, and the W season's right around the corner, so we'll be back then as well.
Yep, make sure to go get your WNBA pass, $34.99 a month. You'd be so surprised how many people I've told. Every single random man I meet on the street who I have like one sentence conversation, I'm like, you know what? It's only $34.99 for the whole season. Like, I'm the best spokesperson at the WNBA, social, marketing. Look, I'm probably your best spokesperson at the moment. So look at that. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.